Honestly, for me, like the coolest thing about like the Dune world is when people like mid-sentence just go like, "Just do it." Like I'd rather have that than a lightsaber. I'm feeling a rare feeling this week. I'm feeling video game contentedness. And that's a dangerous feeling for any consumer to have. You are meant to be perpetually hungry. You are meant to have perpetual desire. You must always want the next thing. And yet here I am playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'm happy. The game exceeds greatness. To put it in other words, there's nothing I'd rather have. Now, is this video about that? No. We can't talk about that game yet. It's not safe. But what I'm finding is that it is affecting how I see other future games coming up. There were a couple events this week. A brand new Xbox partner preview and day one of Capcom highlights. I would like to talk to you about 3 different games from the perspective of someone who is just overly contented. I'd like to start with what I think is a really good trailer for a game that I will never want to play. It's called The Alters. First, you're presented with a familiar setup. And by the way, I love how this looks. You're stranded on a planet. You gotta get off soon. This science station wheel, yes, it looks very silly, but it's actually, I think it's thoughtful. I think it cleanly communicates the lab you're putting together. But here's the real premise of this game. In order to recruit new crewmates to help him escape this planet, the guy has to create multiple selves which are each pulled from a different timeline in which he made a different life choice.
What if I never left my hometown? What if I didn't drop out of college? What if I fought harder to save my marriage?
What an absolute nightmare scenario. Would you ever in your life want to receive relationship advice from a version of yourself who exists in a timeline where they have a successful marriage?
You want a relationship that lasts. Put some effort in it.
My favorite part of the trailer is where a bunch of the timeline selves are bickering about something. This one says, we need to save resources. And this one says, I want better food. And then the player just picks don't get involved. Yeah, I would pick that too, every time. So I think it's a great trailer for showing what the game is and setting up a clear, memorable premise. But there are a couple of obstacles that are really preventing me from going all the way there with this game. Firstly, I'm not trying to be rude here, but this kind of thing really only works if you've got one of those actors with insane maxed out charisma. If you've got Michael Keaton, yeah, you could do it. If you've got Tatiana Maslany, it works. If you've got Sam Rockwell, this kind of thing works. And this guy is not Sam Rockwell.
Stop pretending you have any idea how I feel.
But secondly, it's not a bad trailer. It's an interesting game, but I'm just personally difficult to advertise to right now. When you have seen the things I've seen, I can't possibly give a shit about all of these guys and their space wheel. This is what I'm talking about with video game contentedness. I'm at the end of a long table, just eating some roast goose or something with some mashed potatoes. And you're walking up to my table with a caterpillar in a jar. And you're saying, try this. You've never seen anything like this. Try this, try this. And I'm good. So Capcom Highlights is a new thing Capcom's trying out. 2 events over the course of 5 days. The day 1 presentation focused on 2 games, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, and a whole lot of Dragon's Dogma 2. And again, just talking personally, Dragon's Dogma 2 is such a strange case of a franchise. Because amongst all of Capcom's imaginative and valuable IP, they pick this one to give it one more AAA chance. It's not a joke. It's they've got 8.4 million unit sales, which puts it somewhere between Devil May Cry's 30 million and Commando's 1.2 million. It's a thorough report. Here's my perception. People who love Dragon's Dogma love Dragon's Dogma. But it's not, I don't know if we got to pretend that it's a popular game. So this is its chance to break out. This could be its Monster Hunter World moment, right? How do we tell people who ignored the first game that this is a franchise worth checking out? and I'm always confused with what they try.
Over 1,000 characters inhabit the world, each with their own unique stories and motivations. They will sometimes ask for your help, marking the beginning of a new quest.
I don't know, something about that visual just fills me with dread instead of excitement. Because what I'm hearing is that there will be countless NPCs that you can't really get attached to who will hand you tasks. And they give you 3 examples. There's saving people from monsters, there's stealth missions, and then something unique that did stand out to me. This prospect of when you have like a quest, like a fetch quest, you could actually just craft a forgery of that item and then give that to the quest giver.
And see if you can pass it off as the real thing. The world is a complex web of human relationships, and the player's choices have consequences.
That's a neat thing. Let's see how this plays out. And then they fade to black, and then they don't show you. We'll let you find out for yourself what is interesting about our game. Sorry, another weird thing about this show. There's this strange, ultra-produced interview with Dragon's Dogma 2's director, Hideaki Itsuno.
Well, I could honestly ask you questions all day about this game, but I know you're busy and I do want to respect your time, so thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Everybody's got these little robot eyes looking at them. And that's the last thing they have in this whole show, and then they're starting to wrap up, and they thank Itsuno-san for taking the time to speak with us today. They wave goodbye. And then immediately, there he is. Hey, I'm back on the couch. Let's spend 30 minutes chilling out in the character creator, leading us to wonder, how valuable is this man's time? Sorry, that's a weird aside. What I mean to say about this game is that in a time of famine, I'd be begging for something like this. Wow, look at this. With a full plate, Dragon's Dogma 2, to me. I'm not saying this about this game. I'm saying, like, I'm just making a video about somebody whose plate is full. When my plate is full, when I look at Dragon's Dogma 2, I think it looks burdensome. Look, I'm not trying to, it's 2024. It's not the time to be mean to video games for no reason. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like, is this even, you ever feel this way? You ever feel like your plate is full? Anyway, the third game. Let me show you my favorite trailer from this week. You could probably guess what it is. All right, my first impression is that this looks fun. They're just happy to show you a fun video game. And you think, okay, next shot. You're thinking, next shot, please. You're thinking, how long is this gonna go? You're thinking Gran Turismo would have cut by now. That's 18 seconds of real, raw, HUDs up, monster truck gameplay. You don't see that very often in any video game trailers, but especially racing game trailers. They can't wait to cut. What's sad, though, is I watch a trailer like this and I'm making, like, a value judgment. I'm thinking, how much would I spend on this? Honestly, it's a no for 70, but, I mean, for 40? Yeah, my belly is full of roast goose right now. And actually, I keep stuffing in more roast goose on a nightly basis. It's not healthy. And I know that nothing is going to compare to that roast goose for a while. It's not, why would you eat all that roast goose as fast as you can, knowing that the rest of the year there's no more roast goose? I don't know why I do it, but I do. Anyway, I've been here before. We all have. I know in a few weeks, my long table will just be goose bones. And I'll be looking around saying, what's for dessert? And on that day, hopefully, you'll have some Monster Jam Showdown to pass my way. And that is delayed input for this week. Thanks for watching. Sometimes I think things are interesting about these live showcases that are probably not interesting to people who clicked on this video. So that's why we're talking about them here during the credits. So a few little things that I thought were interesting about this. It was the second Xbox partner preview. The last one they did was the first one. All right. So after that first one, I remarked about how weird it was where they would have the in-between slides and then nobody would read them. and it felt uncomfortable. Still preferable to...
The toys are back in town.
So this week they did have voiceover for those.
Learn how developer GSC Game World brought the cult classic Stalker trilogy to Xbox in an exclusive Xbox Wire interview.
And another only kind of interesting thing is that, they had these gold stickers last time to designate something being brand new, but they added a new sticker that says Shadow Drop. It's such a strange phrase to see canonized, especially after seeing its birth as a weird meme from Easy Allies. The phrase belongs to Microsoft now. And this is truly not interesting, but there is this expanded emphasis on Game Pass Ultimate perks. There are 3 tiers of Game Pass, right? There's Core, which isn't really Game Pass, but you can play multiplayer games online. There's Console and PC, which are the same thing, but just, for your console or PC. And then there's Game Pass Ultimate, which is console and PC and multiplayer access. And then one more benefit of Ultimate is a capital P perks. What even are those? Yeah, I mean, you go to this page, you can't even click on these things. What is this game? What is it? What even is this? But during this presentation, when they're showing off Persona 3 Reload, they're like, hey, you can get this DLC epilogue as a perk, capital P. If you're regular Game Pass, you pay up, but Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, welcome into the epilogue. And then with Final Fantasy XIV, it says Starter Edition available through Game Pass Ultimate perks. Claim between March 21st and April 19th. And what's kind of crazy about that is that like the starter pack for Final Fantasy XIV is a fool's deal. You shouldn't do it because if right now, hey, Final Fantasy XIV has a free trial. You can level up to level 70. You can go through Stormblood. I think Heaven's Word. You can go through Stormblood and Heaven's Word and get up to level 70 without ever paying anything. On Xbox, you will have to pay for Game Pass Core, of course, or Game Pass Ultimate. And I had to look this up. Thank you, Games Radar, for explaining it to me. Ultimately, I still like the partner preview format. It's still fun. And frankly, it's a lot more fun than Difficult News About Our Workforce by Jim Ryan.